Right now, 22 million Americans are in the direct path of a dangerous storm system, and most of them have no idea what is about to hit in the next 6 hours. If you live anywhere from Ohio to Pennsylvania, what I am about to show you could save your life and your property today. But here is the twist that almost nobody is talking about. This is not just one storm. This is a train of storms, back to back to back, stretching all the way into early April. And the temperature swings, we are talking about going from 91 degrees to 37 degrees in the same city within 24 hours. That is a 54-degree temperature crash. I have never seen anything like this for March. Stay with me through this entire forecast because at the 5-minute mark, I am going to reveal the exact cities and exact hours when the most dangerous supercells will fire off today. And later in this video, I have detailed forecasts for over 270 cities across America, so drop a comment right now with your city and state, and I will make sure you get the information you need. But first, let me tell you what happened yesterday, because it is all connected to what is about to unfold. Over in Hawaii, more than 13 inches of rain triggered a life-threatening flash flood emergency that completely isolated the town of Hialeah. The Snohomish River in Washington state crested at an all-time record of 30.5 feet, and a 120-year-old dam came within 6 feet of capacity, forcing the evacuation of 5,000 people. Now here is the part that will blow your mind. That same weather pattern, that same moisture plume, that same atmospheric setup that caused catastrophic flooding in Hawaii and record river levels in Washington is now feeding energy directly into the storm system targeting the Ohio Valley today. It is all connected. The stuff in Hawaii, the atmospheric river slamming the West Coast, and the severe weather outbreak about to unfold across the eastern United States. One massive weather pattern driving chaos from the Pacific all the way to the Atlantic. And while that is happening, we just shattered the all-time warmest March temperature ever recorded in United States history. Fort Yuma, Arizona hit 112 degrees just a couple of days ago. 112 degrees in March. That has never happened before in recorded weather history for this country, and the National Weather Service is forecasting upwards of 100 different daily temperature records to fall today alone, stretching from California all the way to Ohio. Let me paint this picture for you right now with actual temperatures from cities across America this morning. St. Louis is sitting at 74 degrees already. Branson, Missouri, 73. Rogers, Arkansas, 73. Knoxville, Tennessee, 72. Sevierville, 72. Bloomington, Indiana, 69. Batesville, Arkansas, 69. Nashville, 68. Louisville, 68. Tulsa, 68. Bentonville, 68. Houston, 68. These are not afternoon highs. These are morning temperatures, and they are going to climb much higher before the cold front arrives. Meanwhile, up in the northern tier, it is a completely different world. Anchorage, Alaska is at 8 degrees, Fairbanks, -13, Prudhoe Bay, -27, International Falls, Minnesota, 21 degrees, Ironwood, Michigan, 21 degrees with light snow falling. Pierre, South Dakota has light snow and ice fog at 32 degrees, Burlington, Vermont, 34 with snow, Portland, Maine, 32 with snow, Bangor, Maine, 29 with snow. That is a temperature difference of over 100 degrees between the warmest and coldest spots in America right now. 100 degrees of contrast across a single country. That is the kind of extreme that spawns violent weather. Now let me get into exactly what is about to happen today because the timing is critical. Do not skip this section. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a level 2 out of 5 slight risk of severe weather stretching from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all the way down to Evansville, Indiana. A marginal risk extends from New York City back into far eastern Missouri. But here is what really matters. There is a hatched zone today, and that hatched zone means the potential for very large hail. We are talking about hail the size of baseballs, in March in the Northeast. That almost never happens. The reason this is possible, even though it is March, is because we have extremely steep lapse rates in the atmosphere right now. That means the temperature drops rapidly with height. And that creates an environment where any thunderstorm that develops can easily loft ice stones to enormous sizes. The moisture near the surface is not incredibly high, with dew points only around 50 degrees when ideally they need to be 58 to 60 for a full-blown tornado outbreak. But that actually makes the hail threat worse because these storms will be elevated, which means they are incredibly efficient at keeping hailstones suspended in the updraft for longer periods of time. Bigger hail, longer hang time, more damage. Now here is your timeline. Write this down, set your alarms, tell your neighbors. From noon to about 2 in the afternoon Eastern Time, the weather will actually look pretty nice across most of the threat area. Scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms will be rolling through New York, northern Pennsylvania, and back into Ohio, but nothing severe. This is the calm before the storm. Use this time to prepare. At 3 to 4 in the afternoon Eastern Time, everything changes. This is when the first supercells will begin to form. The initial storms will fire up around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and State College. These will be capable of producing baseball-sized hail, damaging winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour, and even an isolated tornado. If you are anywhere along the Interstate 70 or Interstate 76 corridors in Pennsylvania, this is your window. Be ready. By 5 in the afternoon, the storms become much more widespread. Columbus, Ohio, and the greater Cleveland area will start seeing storms firing off near Canton and Columbus. Again, the primary threats are very large hail and damaging winds. At 6 in the evening, a cluster of thunderstorms will develop and begin approaching Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and heading toward Philadelphia. This is going to be a fast-moving system, so the window of severe weather for any single location will be relatively brief but intense. Between 7 and 8 in the evening, the storms will begin to weaken as they approach the East Coast. However, further west, storm coverage will increase dramatically. We are talking 80 to 90% storm coverage across the Ohio Valley by 8 tonight. This is when the system transitions from isolated supercells to a solid line of storms, and the primary threat shifts from large hail to widespread damaging winds. Between 7 and 10 in the evening is the second distinct window. A line of damaging winds will push across Ohio into West Virginia. If you are in this zone and the storms are coming through later at night, make sure your weather alerts are set to wake you up. Do not go to bed without a way to receive warnings. By 9 to 10 in the evening, most of the severe weather will be winding down. If there is any severe weather left after 9 tonight, it will mainly be damaging winds around 60 miles per hour and maybe up to quarter-sized hail. Still dangerous, but the worst will be over. Do not miss what comes next because the storm that arrives Thursday could be significantly worse. But before we get to that, let me give you some critical safety information for today. If you are in the hatched zone for large hail, which runs from Columbus, Ohio through Morgantown, West Virginia, and up to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, here is exactly what you should do right now. First, move your vehicles into a garage if you have one. Baseball-sized hail will destroy a windshield and total the body of a car in seconds. If you do not have a garage, consider parking under a bridge overpass, a covered parking structure, or even a gas station canopy during the peak threat window between 3 and 8 this evening. Second, bring in any outdoor furniture, decorations, or items that could become projectiles in 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. Third, charge your phone fully right now. You need it to receive wireless emergency alerts. Fourth, know where your interior safe room is. In a tornado warning, you want to be in the lowest floor in an interior room away from windows. A bathroom, a closet, or under a staircase are your best options. Fifth, if you have young children or elderly family members, brief them on the plan now while there is time. Do not wait until the sirens are going off. For those of you along the Interstate 70 corridor in Ohio and the Interstate 76 corridor in Pennsylvania, you need to be especially vigilant between 3 and 7 this evening. This is the window when discrete supercells will be firing, and these are the storms most likely to produce the largest hail and the highest wind speeds. Once the storms merge into a line after 7 or 8 this evening, the tornado threat actually drops, but the damaging wind threat remains high. And let me be clear about something. When I say 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, that is enough force to snap large tree limbs, flip over trampolines, tear off roof shingles, and throw unsecured objects through windows. If you hear a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning with a tag for destructive winds, take it just as seriously as you would a tornado warning. Get inside. Get away from windows. Get low. Now let me also address the tornado threat directly because I know some of you are worried. The tornado probability today is at 2%. That is the lowest non-zero category the Storm Prediction Center issues. But 2% does not mean 0%. What it means is that conditions are not ideal for widespread tornado development, but isolated tornadoes are still possible, particularly in the zone from Columbus, Ohio, through western Pennsylvania, including Pittsburgh. The reason the tornado threat is limited today is because the wind shear, while present, is mainly showing changes in wind speed rather than wind direction. Tornadoes need both speed shear and directional shear to get that spinning motion going. Today, we have the speed but not enough directional change. So if we do see a tornado, it will likely be brief and associated with an individual supercell during the 3 to 7 window, not a long-track violent tornado. That said, atmospheric setups can surprise us. Sometimes a localized pocket of better wind shear can develop that the models did not resolve. So do not use the low tornado probability as an excuse to ignore warnings. If a tornado warning is issued for your county, act immediately. You may have less than 5 minutes. Do not miss what comes next because the storm that arrives Thursday could be significantly worse. Now let me give you the detailed city-by-city breakdown that I promised. If your city is on this list, pay close attention to the conditions heading your way. And remember, drop your city in the comments if you do not hear it mentioned. I read every single comment, starting in the Northeast. New York City is at 48 degrees with low clouds. Philadelphia is 51 with mostly cloudy skies. Boston is 39 degrees with more clouds than sun. Pittsburgh is at 58 and sunny right now, but that will change dramatically this afternoon. Allentown, 47 and overcast. Harrisburg, 49 and overcast. State College, 48 and sunny. Scranton, 48 with passing clouds. Albany, New York, 42 with light rain. Syracuse, 45 with light rain. Rochester, 46 with light rain. Buffalo, 43 with light rain. Binghamton, 44 with scattered clouds. Elmira, 41 and sunny. Erie, 60 degrees and sunny. Hartford, Connecticut, 44 and overcast. Providence, 40 degrees and overcast. New Haven, 42 and overcast. Bridgeport, 43 and overcast. Stamford, 44 with low clouds. Newark, New Jersey, 46 with mostly cloudy skies. Trenton, 47 and overcast. Atlantic City, 51 with more clouds than sun. Portland, Maine is at 32 degrees with light snow. Bangor, 29 with light snow. Augusta, Maine, 29 with ice fog. Burlington, Vermont, 34 with light snow falling. Montpelier, 29 with light snow. Concord, New Hampshire, 34 and overcast. Manchester, New Hampshire, 37 with mostly cloudy skies. Now here is an important side note about New England. While the Ohio Valley deals with severe thunderstorms, northern New England is dealing with an entirely different storm. A classic warm convection snow event is going to drop significant snow across the higher elevations. The Adirondacks, the Green Mountains of Vermont, and the White Mountains of New Hampshire are going to get buried. Auburn, Maine could see 7.3 inches of snow. Augusta, 6.8 inches. Foxcroft, 7.1 inches. And in the White Mountains, particularly around Hart S location and Bartlett along Highway 16, we could see over a foot of snow. Boston and New York City will mostly miss out on accumulating snow, but parts of Vermont and extreme upstate New York could see a few inches. Monday morning commuters in northern New England should plan for a fresh blanket of snow on the roads. Moving to the mid-Atlantic and southeast. Washington, D.C. is at 52 degrees with partly sunny skies. Baltimore, 50 degrees with scattered clouds. Richmond, 54 and partly sunny. Virginia Beach, 61 with scattered clouds. Norfolk, 61 with scattered clouds. Charlottesville, 54 and sunny. Roanoke, 54 and sunny. Charleston, West Virginia, 49 with partly sunny skies. Morgantown, West Virginia, 61 and sunny. Huntington, West Virginia, 61 and sunny. Wilmington, Delaware, 48 with fog. Charlotte, North Carolina, 63 with passing clouds. Raleigh, 64 and partly sunny. Greensboro, 62 and partly sunny. Durham, 64 and partly sunny. Asheville, 52 and sunny. Fayetteville, North Carolina, 60 degrees with fog. Wilmington, North Carolina, 67 and sunny. Charleston, South Carolina, 67 and sunny. Columbia, South Carolina, 64 and sunny. Greenville, South Carolina, 62 and sunny. Myrtle Beach, 67 and sunny. Atlanta, 59 and sunny. Augusta, Georgia, 65 and sunny. Savannah, 64 and sunny. Jacksonville, Florida, 61 with passing clouds. Orlando, 63 and sunny. Tampa, 65 with passing clouds. Miami, 68 with passing clouds. Fort Lauderdale, 67 with passing clouds. West Palm Beach, 65 and sunny. Key West, 73 and sunny. Sarasota, 70 degrees and sunny. Fort Myers, 64 and sunny. Bradenton, 70 and sunny. Naples, 63 and sunny. Moving into the Ohio Valley, which is ground zero for today, is severe weather. Columbus, Ohio is at 59 degrees with scattered clouds right now. That will change fast. Cleveland, 56 with broken clouds. Cincinnati 51 and sunny, Dayton 64 and sunny, Akron 60 degrees with scattered clouds, Canton 58 with partly sunny skies, Toledo 57 and sunny, Youngstown 60 degrees with broken clouds, Mansfield 64 and sunny, Elyria 56 and sunny, Indianapolis 61 with scattered clouds, Fort Wayne 63 with scattered clouds, Evansville 65 and sunny, Terre Haute 64 and sunny, Bloomington, Indiana 69 and sunny, Muncie 67 and sunny, Lafayette 67 and sunny, Kokomo 66 and sunny, South Bend 52 and sunny, Elkhart 59 with passing clouds, Louisville, Kentucky 68 with partly sunny skies, Lexington 67 and sunny, Bowling Green 67 and sunny, Frankfort 67 and sunny, Hopkinsville 67 and sunny, Paducah 66 and sunny, Nashville, Tennessee 68 and sunny, Knoxville 72 and sunny, Chattanooga 65 and sunny, Memphis 66 and sunny, Clarksville 68 and sunny, Cookville 62 and sunny. Here is something I need you to understand about today's setup. Our low pressure system is positioned well to the north up over Michigan. This is basically an Alberta clipper, and it is extremely unusual to see severe weather in the middle of March in the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic caused by a trough north of the Great Lakes. This is not your typical spring severe weather pattern. The dynamics are unusual, the temperatures are unprecedented, and the combination of factors makes this a setup that demands your attention. The tornado risk today is actually relatively low, sitting at 2%. And here is why. While we have plenty of wind shear, the winds are primarily changing speed, not direction. For tornadoes, we need winds changing direction to create that circular rotation. So the tornado threat exists, but it is not the primary concern. The main threats today are very large hail and damaging winds. That said, if you are in the hatched zone from Columbus to Morgantown to Pittsburgh, do not let your guard down on tornadoes entirely. We could still see a quick spin up, particularly between 3 and 7 in the evening when discrete supercells are most likely. Now, let me tell you what is coming after today, because this is where things get really interesting and honestly a little scary. Monday and Tuesday will be mostly quiet across the lower 48. The cold front will push through and temperatures will drop significantly. Pittsburgh, which will top out around 85 or 86 degrees today, will crash down to 37 degrees behind the front. That is nearly a 50-degree drop. St. Louis, which is forecast to hit 91 degrees ahead of the front, will feel like a completely different season by Monday morning. Here is your temperature outlook for the coming days. For Monday, most of the warmth gets compressed down to the Gulf Coast and the desert Southwest. The Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and the Northeast will feel more like late winter or early spring. Temperatures will be 5 to 10, maybe even 15 degrees below average across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, and into the Northeast. If you have been enjoying the warm weather and you put your winter clothes away, you might want to dig them back out for a couple of days. Now let me give you the broader picture across the South and West. Dallas, Texas, 65 degrees with passing clouds. Houston, 68 and partly sunny. San Antonio, 62 and sunny. Austin, 59 and sunny. Fort Worth, 63 and sunny. Waco, 61 and sunny. El Paso, 53 with passing clouds. Lubbock, 52 with passing clouds. Amarillo, 52 and sunny. Wichita Falls, 65 and sunny. Corpus Christi, 62 with passing clouds. Brownsville, 63 and sunny. Midland, 67 and sunny. Odessa, 65 and sunny. Oklahoma City, 64 with scattered clouds. Tulsa, 68 and partly sunny. Norman, 70 degrees. Enid, 65 and sunny. Stillwater, 66 and sunny. Little Rock, Arkansas, 66 and sunny. Fayetteville, Arkansas, 70 and sunny. Fort Smith, 61 and clear. Hot Springs, 68 and sunny. Kansas City, 67 and sunny. Wichita, 63 and sunny. Topeka, 64 and sunny. St. Louis, 74 with passing clouds. Springfield, Missouri, 64 and sunny. Columbia, Missouri, 63 and clear. Joplin, 70 and sunny. Now here is a critical fire weather alert for Sunday. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a critical fire weather risk for the Texas Panhandle and southwest Oklahoma. This is an incredibly volatile combination of dry air, bone-dry vegetation, and winds gusting 45 to 50 miles per hour. The region has been baking under this anomalous heat dome, and the fuels on the ground are completely cured. Any spark will spread a fire at terrifying speeds. If you are in the Amarillo, Abilene, or Wichita Falls area, please avoid any outdoor burning. Secure any dragging trailer chains, which is actually a major cause of wildfires. This is serious. Looking further west, Los Angeles 61 degrees with fog, San Francisco 51 and clear, San Diego 61 with fog, Phoenix 70 degrees with passing clouds, Tucson 61 and clear, Las Vegas 74 with passing clouds, Denver 39 with passing clouds, Salt Lake City 54 with passing clouds, Portland, Oregon 38 and clear, Seattle 37 with passing clouds, Boise 35 and clear, Albuquerque 51 with passing clouds, Santa Fe 40 degrees and clear, Reno 47 and clear, Sacramento 54 and clear, Fresno 62 with passing clouds, Bakersfield 66 and clear, Palm Springs 72 and clear, San Jose 52 and clear, Scottsdale 71 and clear, Mesa 72 and clear, Tempe 70 degrees with passing clouds, Flagstaff 41 and clear, Sedona 63 and sunny, Prescott 49 and clear, Yuma 81 degrees and clear with pleasantly warm conditions, Welton also 81, Bullhead City 70 degrees, Indio 77, Coachella 77, Borrego Springs 77. These desert locations are already pushing toward the kind of extreme heat that is going to build even further through the week. Now let me get into what happens Tuesday through Friday because the storm train does not stop. On Tuesday, the core of the same subtropical jet stream that caused all that flooding in Hawaii is going to accelerate toward the mainland. This is going to drive a potent new mid-latitude cyclone that will slam into the Pacific Northwest. Expect moderately heavy rain across the lower elevations of Washington and Oregon, while the Olympic Mountains and the Cascades get buried under heavy mountain snow. If you have outdoor plans in the Pacific Northwest on Tuesday, you will want to reschedule for Wednesday or Thursday. Also on Tuesday, moderate to heavy snow is possible across upper Michigan and Wisconsin. The Upper Peninsula could see some significant accumulations Tuesday morning. By Wednesday, this system crosses the Continental Divide and rapidly deepens into a strong surface low as it moves up into the Canadian Rockies. This is going to unleash a concentrated area of very strong, potentially damaging winds across the northern Rockies and high plains. If you are driving a high-profile vehicle on Interstate 15 or Interstate 90 in Montana, Wyoming, or the Dakotas, by the middle of next week, prepare for serious crosswinds. This area has been getting pounded by wind already, and it is not stopping anytime soon. And here is where the forecast just got way more intense. Do not skip this part. By Wednesday night into Thursday morning, a large band of moisture will stretch across the central and eastern United States, and a dangerous storm system will begin forming over the Rockies. Initially, it will start with snow and freezing rain across the upper Midwest, but by Thursday afternoon and evening, this system has the potential to produce a significant severe weather event across the Ohio Valley. Now, the two major weather computer models are actually showing two different scenarios for Thursday, and both of them are concerning. The GFS model shows the low-pressure center tracking directly north of New York by Thursday evening, with a large winter storm impact across Canada and scattered severe weather in the Ohio Valley, including damaging winds, large hail, and possibly a few tornadoes. But the European model shows something even more concerning. It shows the low-pressure center less organized, with most of the moisture pooled over the Midwest and Ohio Valley. And in my professional assessment, the European model setup would promote a much more significant risk of severe weather. We are talking about scattered to numerous storms stretching from Pennsylvania all the way into Missouri, with large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes all on the table. This is only 5 days out, so predictability is still low. But both models agree that Thursday is going to be an active, severe weather day. We will be watching this very closely. And the temperature roller coaster is not done. After the heat surge this weekend, temperatures crash behind the Monday cold front. Then they warm back up by Wednesday and Thursday, with highs returning to the upper 80s and 90s across the central United States. But then another strong cold front arrives Thursday night into Friday, and this one is even colder. This second blast is going to be significant. We are talking 10 to 15, possibly 20 degrees below average from the northern plains down through the Ohio Valley Friday into Saturday. Freezing temperatures will return across the northern tier with bitter cold wind chills. The GFS model is actually showing the wind chills even deeper than the European model, so this could be quite intense. For Saturday, more freezing temperatures and more cold wind chills are expected across the Midwest and Northeast. Your highs will only reach the 40s, where just days before you were in the 80s. And then Sunday, the Arctic blast finishes pushing through the East Coast. It will warm back up to the 60s and 70s, but you are not going to see those crazy 100-degree readings over the Southwest anymore. The heat dome will finally start to relax. Let me also cover some areas we often overlook. Alaska is experiencing a wide range of conditions right now. Anchorage 8 degrees and clear. Fairbanks -13 and clear. Juneau 30 degrees with light snow. Kodiak 26 and clear. Sitka 33 with passing clouds. Ketchikan 31 with passing clouds. And then the extreme north, Utqiagvik, formerly known as Barrow, is at -14 degrees. Prudhoe Bay, -27. Kaktovik, -19. These are brutally cold temperatures even by Alaska standards for late March. The Arctic air mass responsible for this cold is the same system that will eventually send cold blasts down into the lower 48 later this week. Hawaii is still dealing with the aftermath of that catastrophic flooding. Honolulu is at 74 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Hilo is experiencing light rain at 71 degrees. Kailua Kona is at 79. The flooding that hit Halea was devastating, and recovery is still underway. The 120-year-old Waha Dam held, thankfully, but the fact that 5,000 people had to be evacuated because the dam came within 6 feet of capacity is a sobering reminder of how powerful these atmospheric moisture events can be. And that brings us back full circle to the connection between all of these weather events. The subtropical jet stream that dumped 13+ inches of rain on Hawaii is the same energy source driving the atmospheric river toward the Pacific Northwest, which is the same system that will eventually deepen into the mid-latitude cyclone hitting the Ohio Valley on Thursday. Everything in weather is connected. For those of you in the Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and greater New Mexico area, you are currently at 51 and 40 degrees respectively with mostly clear skies. The Southwest is going to remain warm through the week, but watch for increased precipitation chances as we head into the 8 to 14-day period. Southern Arizona, New Mexico, and Southwest Texas are all forecast to see much above average precipitation in the coming weeks, which could bring flash flooding risks to desert areas not accustomed to handling heavy rain. Let me also briefly touch on what is happening in the mountains in the West. Looking at snowfall projections as we move into the first week of April, a major pattern change will bring wave after wave of precipitation crashing into the western mountains. We are talking about potentially feet of snow across the higher elevations of Washington, Oregon, California, Utah, Nevada, Wyoming, Colorado, Idaho, and Montana. This is great news for the snowpack and water supply, but it could create dangerous travel conditions and avalanche risks. Now, here is the big picture that I want you to walk away with from this forecast. We are entering a fundamentally different weather pattern. As we push into April, models are showing a persistent troughing pattern developing along the west coast with ridging along the east coast. This configuration is a recipe for repeated severe weather outbreaks across the central and eastern United States. The North Atlantic Oscillation is trending toward a somewhat neutral to negative pattern. What that means in plain English is that a high-pressure system is going to park itself over the Atlantic Ocean. When that happens, it pumps warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico northward, creating fuel for storms. At the same time, the polar vortex remains split, continuing to send cold blasts down from the north. Warm air from the south colliding with cold air from the north equals severe weather potential, and lots of it. I expect we are going to see several large storm systems as we head into early April. The first significant one could arrive around March 31st into April 1st, and I think things get even more significant once we get into the first and second week of April. This pattern also suggests a severe weather anomaly across the southern half of the country and a potential snow anomaly across the northern half. Yes, you heard that right. More snow is possible across the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and even New England in early April, potentially right after experiencing temperatures in the 80s and 90s. Mother Nature is truly wild this year. The 8 to 14-day temperature outlook confirms this setup. The deep south is going to be much above average, with warm air spreading eastward, but the northeast will hang on to below-average temperatures and trough-influenced weather for the foreseeable future. And here is something else. Precipitation is going to be above average nearly everywhere across the United States over the next 2 weeks. The Southwest, particularly southern Arizona, New Mexico, and southwest Texas, will see much more precipitation than usual. The Great Lakes and Ohio Valley will also see increased rainfall. Nobody is below average for precipitation. Nobody. That is remarkable and tells you just how active this pattern is going to be. Let me now recap the most critical information you need for the next 7 days. Today, Sunday. Severe thunderstorms from the Ohio Valley to the mid-Atlantic. Supercells developing between 3 and 9 in the evening Eastern Time. Primary threats are baseball-sized hail and damaging winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Low but non-zero tornado risk. Critical fire danger in the Texas Panhandle and southwest Oklahoma. Significant snow across northern New England mountains. Monday, cold front pushes through. Temperatures crash across the eastern United States. 5 to 15 degrees below average from the Great Lakes to the northeast. Mostly quiet weather, but watch for an isolated hailstorm along the Carolina coastline Monday afternoon. Freezing temperatures and cold wind chills return across the northern states. Tuesday, continued cold across the Great Lakes and northeast. Moderate to heavy snow possible in upper Michigan and Wisconsin. A powerful Pacific storm approaches the Pacific Northwest with heavy rain and mountain snow. Wind chills will be noticeable across the Midwest Wednesday. The Pacific storm crosses the Continental Divide. Strong, damaging winds across the northern Rockies and high plains. Temperatures begin warming again across the central United States as the heat dome rebuilds. Large area of moisture begins organizing for Thursday as potential outbreak. Thursday, this is the day to watch. The most likely day for the next significant severe weather event. Models show potential for widespread thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley and central United States. Large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes are all on the table. Snow and freezing rain possible across the upper Midwest before storms develop. An even stronger cold front will be right behind this system. I will be updating this forecast daily, so make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you do not miss the Thursday update. Friday, strong cold front arrives. Severe weather possible in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and possibly as far south as Arkansas and Missouri. Temperatures crash again with freezing temps returning to the northern states. Potential for a wintry mix or even snow in the Ohio Valley directly after having temperatures in the 80s. Wind chills could be brutal Saturday and Sunday. Complete weather pattern flip. Cold air dominates the East Coast. Below average temperatures widespread. The West Coast remains hot. The heat dome begins to relax but stays parked in the Southwest. Looking into the first week of April, expect continued cold blasts coming through from the west, bringing cooler temperatures and significant snowfall to the western mountains. The southern United States will remain warmer than average with increasing storm activity. Severe weather potential remains elevated throughout the first 2 weeks of April. Now, for those of you on the West Coast, let me give you a few more details. San Francisco is at 51 degrees and clear right now. Temperatures are comfortable along the coast, but the heat remains extreme inland. Palm Springs at 72, Bakersfield at 66, Fresno at 62, Sacramento is 54 and will warm nicely today. If you are in Southern California, the fog will burn off by late morning and you will have a pleasant day with temperatures in the low 60s near the coast and upper 60s to 70s inland. The Pacific Northwest is in a transitional phase. Portland, Oregon is at 38 degrees with clear skies. Seattle is at 37. These temperatures are actually quite cold for late March in the Northwest, but the atmospheric river event arriving Tuesday will bring warmer, wetter air. Expect the rain to get going by Tuesday morning and not let up until Wednesday. The Cascades and Olympics will see heavy mountain snow. If you have ski plans, this is actually great news. Spokane is at 29 degrees, Boise 35. Missoula area locations are in the 30s. These intermountain areas will also feel the effects of the approaching Pacific storm system, with precipitation arriving by midweek. Let me circle back to the northern plains and upper Midwest because there is something important happening there too. Fargo, North Dakota is at 31 degrees with overcast skies. Bismarck 28. Grand Forks 29, Minneapolis 38 and overcast, Duluth 28. These areas are experiencing the last gasp of winter, but the temperature swings coming this week are going to be extreme even by northern plains standards. You will go from the 30s to the 50s and 60s by midweek, then slam back down to the teens and 20s by the weekend. Sioux Falls 34 degrees. Pierre, 32, with light snow and ice fog. Rapid City, 36, with light rain. The Dakotas are in that transition zone where every storm system brings a different type of weather. Snow today, warmth Wednesday, then snow again by the weekend. Keep your winter gear and your spring clothes equally accessible. Now for the Rockies and Mountain West. Denver is at 39 with passing clouds. Colorado Springs, 45 with broken clouds. Grand Junction, 49 and clear. Bozeman, 32. Billings, 36. Salt Lake City, 54. The mountain areas are going to see significant weather changes this week. The approaching Pacific system will bring another round of mountain snow by midweek, and the combination of warm air surging north, then cold air plunging south is going to create some very dynamic weather across the entire Mountain West. Casper, Wyoming, 40 degrees and overcast. Cheyenne, 35 with partly sunny skies. Rock Springs, 41. These Wyoming cities are going to feel the brunt of the midweek wind event, with gusts potentially exceeding 50 miles per hour. Secure outdoor furniture and be prepared for highway closures if you are traveling through the state. I want to give a special call out to anyone along the Gulf Coast. Mobile, Alabama is at 62 degrees. Biloxi, 67. New Orleans, 64. Pensacola, 63. Gulfport, 63. Your weather this week is going to be pleasant for the most part, with temperatures in the 60s and 70s. But watch for increasing moisture and storm chances as we head into late week. The severe weather potential Thursday and Friday could extend further south than current models show, so stay weather aware even if you are not in the primary threat area today. Galveston, 69 and sunny. Corpus Christi, 62. Brownsville, 63. South Texas and the Gulf Coast of Texas will remain warm and mostly pleasant through the week, but the fire weather risk on Sunday is critical for the Panhandle and western portions of the state. And for those of you in the southeast who are enjoying beautiful weather right now, soak it up. Savannah at 64 degrees and sunny. Charleston, South Carolina at 67 and sunny. Jacksonville at 61 with passing clouds. Atlanta at 59 and sunny. You will have gorgeous weather today and for much of the week, with temperatures remaining near or slightly above average. The severe weather threat today stays well north of you. But by Thursday and Friday, the next storm system could bring thunderstorms your way, so keep that in mind for any end-of-week plans. Before I wrap up this forecast, I need you to remember these three critical things. Number one, if you are in the Ohio Valley or Mid-Atlantic today, have multiple ways to receive weather warnings. A weather radio, a phone app, local TV. The storms between 3 and 9 tonight could produce baseball-sized hail and damaging winds. Take shelter immediately if a warning is issued for your area. If you can get your vehicles into a garage or undercover before the storms arrive, do it now. Do not wait. Hail can arrive with very little lead time, and once it starts falling, it is too late to move your car. Number two, the temperature crash coming Monday is going to be dramatic. Prepare for a return to winter-like conditions across the Midwest and Northeast. If you have pets, outdoor plants, or pipes that could be affected by freezing temperatures, take precautions tonight and Monday. For those of you who have already turned off your furnace and switched to air conditioning this past week because of the record heat, you are going to need to switch right back. This kind of extreme temperature flip is not just uncomfortable, it can be dangerous for the elderly and for anyone with respiratory conditions. When your body has been acclimated to 80-degree heat for a week and then suddenly faces 20-degree wind chills, it is a shock to the system. Check on your neighbors, especially anyone living alone. Number three, Thursday is shaping up to be potentially the most significant severe weather event so far this spring. We are only 5 days out and the models are already flagging it. The European model in particular is showing a setup that favors widespread severe thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley and central United States, with large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes all on the table. I will be providing daily updates as we get closer, so do not miss a single video this week. The Thursday forecast could change significantly with each new model run, and you want to have the latest information. Drop a comment right now with your city and state. I read every single one, and I will do my best to give you a personalized forecast update. If you found this forecast helpful, share it with someone in the path of these storms. You might just be the reason they take shelter in time. And here is your teaser for the next video. I am tracking a major model shift that just happened overnight for the Thursday severe weather event. One of the computer models is now suggesting the outbreak zone could expand much further south and west than previously thought, potentially bringing tornadoes to areas that are not currently in the threat zone. I will break it all down in tomorrow's forecast with updated city-by-city timing and the latest on the Arctic blast that follows. You will not want to miss that one. Stay safe out there. Prepare now while the sun is still shining, because by this afternoon, the sky is going to look very different across the Ohio Valley. This is the beginning of what could be one of the most active severe weather periods we have seen in years. The storm train has arrived, and it is not leaving anytime soon. One more thing before I go. For those of you in the western United States dealing with this historic heat, relief is coming. Not immediately for everyone, but the pattern shift into April will gradually bring temperatures closer to normal across much of the Southwest. Arizona, California, and Nevada, you will be the last to see the heat break, but it will happen. In the meantime, stay hydrated, check on elderly neighbors, and keep pets indoors during the hottest parts of the day. 100+ degree temperatures in March are unprecedented, and your body is not acclimated to that kind of heat this early in the season. For my viewers in the Mountain West, keep those snow shovels handy. The forecast models are showing that the first 2 weeks of April could bring multiple rounds of heavy mountain snow. Feet of snow are possible across the higher elevations from Washington State all the way down to Colorado. That is phenomenal for the snowpack and water supply, which has been running below average in many areas. But it also means unpredictable travel conditions through mountain passes, potential avalanche danger, and the possibility of wet spring snow that can bring down power lines and tree limbs. And to everyone across the Central Plains, the pattern we are entering favors repeated rounds of severe weather as we transition into April. This is the time of year to review your tornado safety plan, make sure your weather radio has fresh batteries, and know where your safe room or shelter is. Identify the lowest, most interior room in your home away from windows. Have shoes and a helmet near your shelter area. Keep your phone charged so you can receive wireless emergency alerts. These are simple steps that could save your life when a storm hits at 2 in the morning and you have 60 seconds to react. This has been your comprehensive weather forecast for the week ahead. Over 22 million Americans in the path of severe weather today. Over 100 temperature records expected to fall. A storm train that is not stopping for weeks. And a weather pattern unlike anything most of us have seen in March. The data is clear. The models agree on the big picture. Active, volatile, and potentially dangerous weather is here for the foreseeable future. I will be back tomorrow with the latest updates on the Thursday severe weather potential and detailed timing for every major city in the threat zone. That forecast is going to include new model data that was not available when I recorded this video, and I have a feeling it is going to change the picture significantly. Make sure you do not miss it. Remember, comment your city and state below for a personalized forecast. Share this with friends and family in the path of these storms. And most importantly, be prepared, not scared. Knowledge is your greatest tool when severe weather threatens. The more you know about what is coming and when, the better decisions you can make to protect yourself and the people you love. That is why we do this every single day. Now, I promised you forecasts for over 270 cities, and I am going to deliver on that promise right now. Grab a pen if you need to. Here we go with a massive regional breakdown. Let me start with the Deep South, because these temperatures are going to make some of you jealous if you are sitting in the cold up north right now. Birmingham, Alabama, 65 degrees with passing clouds. Huntsville, 63 and sunny. Montgomery, 61 with low clouds. Mobile, 62 and sunny. Tuscaloosa, 61 and sunny. Dothan, 60 degrees with fog. Florence, Alabama, 67 and sunny. Auburn, 58 and sunny. Talladega, 64 and sunny. Over in Mississippi, Jackson is at 60 degrees with passing clouds. Hattiesburg, 64 and overcast. Biloxi, 67 and sunny. Gulfport, 63 and sunny. Tupelo, 65 and sunny. Batesville, 66 and sunny. Vicksburg, 64 and overcast. Macomb, 64 with fog. Louisiana is looking comfortable this morning. Baton Rouge, 64 with scattered clouds. New Orleans, 64 and sunny. Shreveport, 63 with passing clouds. Lafayette, 63 with fog. Lake Charles, 61 with fog. Alexandria, 66 and partly sunny. Georgia is gorgeous today. Savannah, 64 and sunny. Augusta, 65 and sunny. Macon, 59 and sunny. Columbus, Georgia, 58 and sunny. Athens, 56 and sunny. Gainesville, Georgia, 64 and sunny. Dalton, 67 and sunny. Valdosta, 63 with low clouds. Florida is living up to its sunshine state reputation. Jacksonville, 61 with passing clouds. Orlando, 63 and sunny. Tampa, 65 with passing clouds. Miami, 68 with passing clouds. Fort Lauderdale, 67 with passing clouds. St. Petersburg, 67 and sunny. Tallahassee, 59 with fog. Pensacola, 63 and sunny. Daytona Beach, 60 with fog. Fort Myers, 64 and sunny. Clearwater, 63 and sunny. Sarasota, 70 and sunny. Bradenton, 70 and sunny. Key West, 73 and sunny. Kissimmee, 61 and sunny. Ocala, 61 with fog. Panama City, 68 with scattered clouds. Destin, 68 with passing clouds. Melbourne, 59 and sunny. Cocoa Beach, 62 and sunny. Port St. Lucie, 63 and sunny. Vero Beach, 60 and sunny. Cape Coral, 64 and sunny. Naples, 63 and sunny. Boca Raton, 68 and sunny. Palm Coast, 67 and sunny. Now let me cover the big state of Texas with your full statewide breakdown. Dallas, 65 with passing clouds. Houston, 68 and partly sunny. San Antonio, 62 and sunny. Austin, 59 and sunny. Fort Worth, 63 and sunny. Arlington, 63 and sunny. Plano, 67 and sunny. Waco, 61 and sunny. Killeen, 63 and sunny. Temple, 60 degrees and sunny. Tyler, 63 and sunny. Longview, 63 and sunny. Texarkana, 66 and sunny. Beaumont, 65 with fog. Galveston, 69 and sunny. Corpus Christi, 62 with passing clouds. Brownsville, 63 and sunny. Laredo, 64 with passing clouds. McAllen, 65 and sunny. Midland, 67 and sunny. Odessa, 65 and sunny. Lubbock, 52 with passing clouds. Amarillo, 52 and sunny. Abilene, 70 degrees and sunny. Wichita Falls, 65 and sunny. San Angelo, 66 and sunny. El Paso, 53 with passing clouds. Denton, 68 and sunny. McKinney, 67 and sunny. Garland, 61 and sunny. Grand Prairie, 65 and sunny. Irving, 64 and sunny. Conroe, 65 and overcast. Now do not forget about the fire weather risk in the Texas Panhandle today. Amarillo at 52 degrees might not sound hot, but the combination of gusty winds and bone-dry conditions makes this one of the most dangerous fire weather setups we have seen this season. Winds will gust to 45 to 50 miles per hour behind the cold front. The vegetation is completely dried out from weeks of above-average heat. One spark from a dragging chain, a tossed cigarette, or a downed power line, and you could have a wildfire racing across the prairie at speeds that make it impossible to outrun. Take this seriously. Now let me cover the Pacific Coast in more detail. Seattle, 37 with passing clouds. Portland, Oregon, 38 and clear. Tacoma, 38 and clear. Bellevue, 37 with passing clouds. Olympia, 32 and clear. Bellingham, 44 and mostly cloudy. Spokane, 29 and clear. Eugene, 35 with passing clouds. Salem, 34 and clear. Medford, 38 and clear. Bend, 23 and clear. Corvallis, 34 and clear. Astoria, 32 with passing clouds. Coos Bay, 40 degrees and clear. The Pacific Northwest is about to get hit hard by that atmospheric river starting Tuesday. This same subtropical moisture feed that caused the catastrophic flooding in Hawaii is now pivoting toward the mainland. When it arrives, it is going to bring sustained moderate to heavy rain across the lowlands of Washington and Oregon and heavy mountain snow in the Cascades and Olympics. Travel through the mountain passes Tuesday and Wednesday could be treacherous. Moving down the California coast and inland. San Francisco, 51 and clear. Oakland, 50 and clear. San Jose, 52 and clear. Sacramento, 54 and clear. Los Angeles, 61 with fog. San Diego, 61 with fog. Long Beach, 60 with fog. Fresno, 62 with passing clouds. Bakersfield, 66 and clear. Santa Barbara, 59 with fog. Monterey, 51 with low clouds. Santa Cruz, 49 and clear. Modesto, 56 and clear. Stockton, 53 and clear. Redding, 65 and clear. Chico, 59 and clear. Riverside, 61 and clear. Anaheim, 61 with fog. Irvine, 59 with fog. Huntington Beach, 59 with fog. Palm Springs, 72 and clear. Pasadena, 60 with fog. Burbank, 60 with fog. Glendale, 60 with fog. Torrance, 61 with fog. Carlsbad, 59 with fog. Oceanside, 59 with fog. Temecula, 55 with fog. Rancho Cucamonga, 62 with scattered clouds. Fontana, 62 with scattered clouds. San Bernardino, 61 and clear. Ontario, 62 with scattered clouds. Corona, 57 and clear. Santa Clarita, 60 with fog. Simi Valley, 60 with fog. Thousand Oaks, 58 with fog. Oxnard, 60 with low clouds. Visalia, 57 with fog. California, you are in a unique situation this week. The coastal areas will remain pleasant with morning fog burning off to sunshine. But inland valleys and the desert are where the extreme heat continues. The Coachella Valley cities like Indio, Coachella, and Palm Springs are already approaching the mid-70s this morning. By mid-afternoon, several of these desert communities could push into the low 100s again. Now for the Mountain West detailed breakdown. Denver, 39 with passing clouds. Colorado Springs, 45 with broken clouds. Boulder, 41 and mostly cloudy. Fort Collins, 41 with scattered clouds. Grand Junction, 49 and clear. Pueblo, 54 and clear. Durango, 37 and clear. Aspen, 41 and clear. Telluride, 45 and sunny. Breckenridge, 38 and clear. Salt Lake City, 54 with passing clouds. Provo, 49 and clear. Ogden, 51 and clear. St. George, 60 degrees and clear. Moab, 55 and clear. Boise, 35 and clear. Idaho Falls, 40 degrees and clear. Pocatello, 40 degrees and clear. Lewiston, 37 and clear. Billings, Montana, 36 with partly cloudy skies. Great Falls, 29 and clear. Helena, 36 and clear. Bozeman, 32 with passing clouds. Butte, 22 and clear. Kalispell, 35 and clear. Casper, Wyoming, 40 degrees and overcast. Cheyenne, 35 and partly sunny. Jackson, 38 with passing clouds. Riverton, 36 and clear. Rock Springs, 41 and clear. The Mountain West is going to be ground zero for some of the most dramatic weather changes this week. You will go from pleasant spring conditions to heavy mountain snow by midweek, then potentially back to above average temperatures before the next cold blast arrives. The wind event Wednesday across the northern Rockies and High Plains deserves special attention. Sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour with gusts exceeding 60 are possible in the higher terrain. Travel disruptions are likely. Let me also cover more cities in the central states. Wichita, Kansas, 63 and sunny. Topeka, 64 and sunny. Lawrence, 61 and sunny. Manhattan, Kansas, 57 and sunny. Salina, 56 and sunny. Dodge City, 52 and sunny. Garden City, 48 and sunny. Springfield, Illinois, 64 and sunny. Champaign, 60 and sunny. Peoria, 62 and sunny. Bloomington, Illinois, 62 and sunny. Decatur, 65 and sunny. Rockford, 51 with broken clouds. Carbondale, 66 and sunny. Effingham, 68 and sunny. Quincy, 61 and sunny. Nebraska is chilly this morning. Lincoln, 44 and sunny. Omaha, 44 and partly sunny. Grand Island, 42 and clear. Kearney, 39 and sunny. North Platte, 36 and partly sunny. Iowa is in that transition zone. Des Moines, 53 and partly sunny. Cedar Rapids, 56 and sunny. Davenport, 57 and sunny. Iowa City, 59 and sunny. Sioux City, 41 and overcast. Waterloo, 48 and sunny. Dubuque, 51 and sunny. Wisconsin is feeling more like winter than spring. Milwaukee, 36 and partly sunny. Madison, 40 degrees with broken clouds. Green Bay, 34 and partly sunny. Appleton, 37 with broken clouds. Eau Claire, 34 and overcast. Wausau, 31 and partly sunny. La Crosse, 41 and sunny. Kenosha, 36 and partly sunny. Minnesota is cold and overcast. Minneapolis, 38 and overcast. St. Paul, 34 and overcast. Rochester, 38 and overcast. Duluth, 28 and overcast. Mankato, 38 and overcast. Fargo, North Dakota, 31 and overcast. Bismarck, 28 and overcast. Grand Forks, 29 and overcast. Oklahoma City, 64 with scattered clouds. Tulsa, 68 and partly sunny. Enid, 65 and sunny. Stillwater, 66 and sunny. Norman, 70 degrees. Shawnee, 67 and sunny. Little Rock, Arkansas, 66 and sunny. Fayetteville, Arkansas, 70 and sunny. Fort Smith, 61 and clear. Bentonville, 68 and sunny. Jonesboro area is in the upper 60s and sunny. Kansas City, 67 and sunny. St. Louis, 74 with passing clouds. Springfield, Missouri, 64 and sunny. Columbia, Missouri, 63 and clear. Joplin, 70 and sunny. Jefferson City, 65 and sunny. For those of you keeping track, that is well over 270 cities covered in this forecast. And every single one of those temperature readings is from this morning. By this afternoon, many of these numbers will look dramatically different, especially in the severe weather threat zone. And for those of you in Michigan, here is your breakdown. Detroit, 43 degrees and sunny. Grand Rapids, 51 and mostly cloudy. Ann Arbor, 47 and sunny. Lansing, 50 degrees and sunny. Flint, 46 with light rain and broken clouds. Kalamazoo, 56 and sunny. Saginaw, 41 with drizzle and fog. Traverse City, 33 and mostly cloudy. Marquette, 28 degrees. Muskegon, 47 and overcast. Holland, 52 and sunny. Port Huron, 37 with light rain. Alpena, 34 with fog. Iron Mountain, 26 and overcast. Escanaba, 28 and overcast. Cadillac, 32 with low clouds. Michigan, you are going to feel the cold side of this pattern more than most. The Upper Peninsula is already in winter mode, with temperatures in the 20s and snow in some locations. Lower Michigan is in that awkward transition zone. By Tuesday, expect moderate to heavy snow across the Upper Peninsula and northern Lower Michigan. If you have travel plans to the UP this week, pack your winter driving gear. Now for the Virginias in a bit more detail. Roanoke, 54 and sunny. Lynchburg, 53 and sunny. Charlottesville, 54 and sunny. Fredericksburg, 54 and sunny. Harrisonburg, 59 and sunny. Staunton, 57 and sunny. Virginia Beach, 61 with scattered clouds. Norfolk, 61 with scattered clouds. Newport News, 60 degrees and sunny. Hampton, 60 degrees and sunny. Chesapeake, 63 and sunny. Richmond, 54 and partly sunny. West Virginia is split today between pleasant weather and the severe threat. Charleston, 49 with partly sunny skies. Morgantown, 61 and sunny. Huntington, 61 and sunny. Wheeling, 60 degrees and sunny. Clarksburg, 60 degrees and sunny. Morgantown and the northern Panhandle are right in the crosshairs for the afternoon supercell threat, so if you are in that area, have your severe weather plan ready to execute by 3 this afternoon. North Carolina is having a beautiful day so far. Charlotte, 63, Raleigh, 64, Greensboro, 62, Winston-Salem, 60, Durham, 64, Fayetteville, 60, Asheville, 52, Wilmington, 67, Hickory, 59, Gastonia, 63, Statesville, 66. South Carolina is equally pleasant. Charleston, 67, Columbia, 64, Greenville, 62, Spartanburg, 63, Myrtle Beach, 67, Florence, 66, Somerville, 67. Now, here is something I have not talked about yet that is really important. After these storms push through today and the cold front drops temperatures 15 to 20 degrees below normal early this week, we are going to see temperatures rocket right back up by Wednesday and Thursday. The heat dome is going to rebuild over the central United States, pushing the 90s all the way from Texas up through Oklahoma, Kansas, and into portions of Missouri. Some areas in the southern plains could flirt with 100 degrees again by Thursday. And then, boom! The second cold front arrives Thursday night into Friday, and it is bringing an even stronger Arctic blast than the first one. This is the punch that really has my attention. Wind chills could drop into the teens and 20s across the Great Lakes and upper Midwest by Friday morning. Saturday morning looks even colder. And here is the twist that nobody saw coming until the model shifted this week. There is a real possibility that we could see snow across the Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ohio Valley as this Arctic blast comes screaming through. Not a lot of snow for most areas, maybe a dusting to an inch or two in the valleys. But the fact that we are even talking about snow in areas that had temperatures in the mid-80s just days earlier tells you everything you need to know about how wild this weather pattern is. The GFS model is showing a swath of snowfall from the upper Midwest down through the Ohio Valley with this weekend front. Most of the significant accumulations stay in Canada and the far northern states, but that secondary band of snow edging into Kentucky and the Tennessee Valley is something we will be monitoring closely all week. And for my viewers who have gardens planted or early crops in the ground across the Ohio Valley and Midwest, this is a serious concern. After weeks of record warmth that may have tricked your plants into thinking summer has arrived, a hard freeze could be devastating. Fruit trees that have already blossomed are especially vulnerable. If you have been gardening or have fruit trees in bloom, start planning now for how you will protect them when temperatures crash below freezing Friday and Saturday mornings. Now let me bring this all together with a final warning about the pattern we are entering. What we are witnessing right now is a weather pattern that is truly extraordinary for March. Record-breaking heat across the Southwest, catastrophic flooding in Hawaii, an atmospheric river slamming the Pacific Northwest, severe thunderstorms with baseball-sized hail in the Ohio Valley, snow in New England, critical fire danger in the plains, and Arctic cold air poised to plunge south behind multiple cold fronts, all happening simultaneously, all connected through one massive hemispheric weather pattern. The North Atlantic Oscillation is trending toward a somewhat neutral to negative pattern. In plain English, that means a high-pressure system is going to park itself over the Atlantic Ocean. When that happens, it pumps warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico northward, creating fuel for storms. Meanwhile, the polar vortex remains split, continuing to send cold blasts down from the north. Warm air from the south colliding with cold air from the north equals repeated severe weather potential throughout April. I expect we are going to see several large storm systems as we head into the first 2 weeks of April. The first significant one could arrive around March 31st into April 1st. And I think things get even more intense once we get deeper into that first and second week of April. This is not an April Fool's joke. The cold blasts keep coming from the west, and they are going to continuously bring cooler temperatures and snow, while the heat and moisture pump storms across the central and eastern United States. The 8 to 14-day temperature outlook confirms this. The deep south will be much above average, more warm air advecting eastward, but the northeast hangs on to below average temperatures for the foreseeable future, and precipitation is going to be above average nearly everywhere across the country over the next 2 weeks. Nobody is below average. That tells you just how active this pattern is. So here's what I need from you right now. Stay engaged with this forecast. Subscribe so you get the daily updates. Hit that notification bell so you do not miss the Thursday severe weather update, which could be the biggest event of the season so far. And comment your city and state right now. I want to know where you are watching from, and I want to make sure you are getting the specific information you need. Share this video with at least one person who lives in the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, or anywhere in the severe weather threat zone today. A simple text message could be the reason someone checks the forecast, moves their car into the garage, or keeps their weather radio on tonight. In tomorrow's forecast, I am going to break down the newest model runs for Thursday's potential severe weather outbreak. The data that came in overnight is showing some concerning trends, including one model now suggesting the outbreak zone could expand much further south and west than previously thought, potentially bringing tornadoes to areas not currently in the threat zone. We are also going to look at the long-range pattern for the first half of April, which is looking increasingly active. Remember, be prepared, not scared. Knowledge is your greatest tool when severe weather threatens. The more you know about what is coming and when, the better decisions you can make to protect yourself and the people you love. That is why we do this every single day. And I want to leave you with one final perspective on what makes this particular weather week so unusual. In my years of following weather, I can count on one hand the number of times I have seen a pattern this extreme in March. We have simultaneous record heat and record cold across the same country. We have tropical moisture from Hawaii connecting to severe weather in Ohio through a chain of atmospheric events spanning thousands of miles. We have the potential for baseball-sized hail followed by snow in the same cities within the same week. We have critical fire danger in the plains at the same time as flood emergencies in the Pacific. And we have computer models pointing to an April that could rival some of the most active, severe weather periods in recent memory. This is not normal, but it is what we are dealing with right now. And the best thing you can do is stay informed, stay connected to reliable weather information, and have a plan for every type of severe weather that could affect your area. If you are just now joining us and you scrolled to the end, let me give you the quick summary. Severe storms today from 3 to 9 in the evening across the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. Baseball-sized hail and 60 to 70 mile per hour winds are the primary threats. A temperature crash of up to 50 degrees arrives Monday. A potentially major severe weather event is shaping up for Thursday, with the European model showing a particularly concerning setup. An Arctic blast follows the Thursday storms, bringing freezing temperatures and possible snow as far south as Kentucky and Tennessee by the weekend, and April is looking extremely active for severe weather across the central and eastern United States. Stay safe out there, America. Look out for your neighbors. Look out for your family. Make sure everyone you care about knows what is coming. And I will see you right back here in the next forecast with